Hi everyone, welcome to our Game of Thrones podcast. I'm Critic Clare.
And I'm Fan Geek.
And today we're going to talk about the recent end of Season 5 of Game of Thrones. And we're going to discuss a lot of things that happened, predictions for the forthcoming season, discussions about characters, and also why Game of Thrones is so popular. So Cable, what do you like about Game of Thrones? Why do you think it's so popular?
I think part of the popularity stems from it being a book or beginning as a novel, not just, starting as a TV series. So it's already got a fan base there. I think the fact that it sort of has a mix of that fantasy, but also that the medieval, and sort of almost has that sort of merger of almost like Braveheart / Gladiator.
Yes.
Sort of melding that whole universe together into one sort of fantasy world, but still feeling like it was almost set on Earth and, at some point in our past. I think it still has that realism of it, apart from the dragons maybe and that, and then obviously the magic. But
yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was looking into, just out of curiosity, because it's not every day that fantasy medieval type television shows take off in such a hugely successful way as Game of Thrones has. And there's been a number of shows that have attempted to be as successful. And I've looked up a few. So probably one of a more famous older series was Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, and Xena Warrior Princess. Then there was the short-lived Raw, which launched Heath Ledger's career. And then you've got these more historical type of TV shows like Rome, The Tudors, Merlin, The Borgias, Camelot, Reign, Vikings. And then you've got some fantasies such as Legend of the Seeker, Outlander, and of course your mini-series from the Ken Follett novels, The Pillars of the Earth, World Without End, and also another mini-series based on a book series, which is The White Queen. And they've had varying degrees of success. I wonder, a theory I had was because of the huge number of supernatural shows, I wonder if that Game of Thrones is a nice relief away from all those supernatural shows, yet it still has a little bit of supernatural in it and mythology. I wonder if that's set the scene. I wonder if we didn't have the wave of supernatural shows, if Game of Thrones would have been successful. What do you think?
Well, that's a good question. I probably hadn't thought about that before. I could see that. Like, there is that small amount of supernatural, obviously, in Game of Thrones, but obviously it's not over the top, and it's not the main part of it. I just think. No, you got me. I lost my train of thought.
No,
Sorry.
That's okay. The thing is it's just unusual for a television show that features fantasy medieval themes, and it has some supernatural elements, for it to be so crazy successful.
I think though the fact that it is a HBO show,
yes,
and it allows it to really push the boundaries. Well, maybe not really push the boundaries. I think we're used to seeing that sort of stuff or the violence in Sopranos and the sex, but obviously seeing it in this and being able to really be controversial to a point, and we will talk about a particular scene this season. I think that just adds to the just the appeal of the show, that they can make it as realistic as possible, if that makes sense. For me personally, I find the show part of why I really enjoy it, even though it's obviously not factual and it's not historical in a sense of human history. I still feel like it's just what's the word I'm trying to think of? I feel like it's it's just a fictionalized account of, you know,
there's a degree of realism.
Yeah.
Like it's. I mean, if you look at the politics,
Yeah.
you look at the emotions, the interactions, the relationships. You take it out of that medieval context and fantasy context. That could be in a documentary, or that could be. So those elements of realism, I think, is what allows us. If you know, when you talk about cinema, you talk about the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
That suspension of disbelief is only allowed because of the realistic elements, and I think the realistic elements are done really convincingly. There's clearly a lot of money goes into the production of the shows. There's great actors, and the ensemble cast, I think, ensemble of characters doesn't allow you really to get bored.
Yeah. Because
just as you might get frustrated or bored with one character, they're either killed off or we're looking at another storyline or plot line. Let's talk more specifically about season 5, because there's lots to talk about there. And I am quite shocked at how controversial some moments in season 5. Should we talk about the scene?
Yeah, no, fire away.
There was on social media and in the news an American, was it a governor or...
I don't know. I will say that I watched Game of Thrones only season 5 recently, so I wasn't watching it week to week and catching up on social media. So I don't know anything social media. So anything you say, I'll have to just go along with.
And of course, we haven't given our standard line. If you haven't seen season 5 of Game of Thrones and you don't want spoilers, then you shouldn't be. You should come back to us though. Don't not listen to us, but just wait until you've watched season 5. I think it was, my understanding was there was Sansa Stark ends up marrying Ramsay Bolton, the sadistic torturer extraordinaire, and he ends up raping her on their wedding night. And as a result of this, allegedly, well, in the news, there's been an American governor or someone has announced, that's it, I'm not watching Game of Thrones anymore. And it started a whole furore online talking about rape, and rape's not a light matter, and all this discussion that the show is horrible and shouldn't depict that rape. Now, before I get out the huffy bike and start talking about that, first of all, what were your thoughts on that scene?
Look, it wasn't... I can understand why for some people it would be hard to watch, and it is pretty full on, but I still think from a cinematic point of view, I think they still did it well enough to show, because this character, that's what he's like. And you think maybe he's going to turn the corner with Sansa, and maybe he's going to get... And having Theon in the room and all that sort of stuff, and look, though, I think from the actress's point of view, I think they did it well. You didn't see a lot. It wasn't it wasn't overly graphic. No, it wasn't graphic. But obviously, you knew exactly what was happening. Was it full on? I'm not going to lie and say it wasn't pretty full on. But I think from a storytelling point of view, I think it's very important to show that. But
exactly,
I'm not too sure. Even if you cut it down, I mean, I don't know.
I think it was more the fact what it was. From what I read, it was the fact that Sansa was only 16, and it was the fact that there was a rape of a 16-year-old in the show. So it wasn't necessarily that the way in which the show depicted it was too graphic. That wasn't the issue. The issue that there was even a rape of a 16-year-old in the show. And what astounds me is, have we been watching the same show for the first 4 seasons?
Yeah.
Like, exactly. Seriously, it's not sunshine and buttercups. Yeah. In the first episode, we've got incest. We've got an adult pushing a 10-year-old through a tower window and paralysing him. We have, throughout the season, we have Daenerys Targaryen is raped by her husband. We have the almost attempted rape previously by Sansa was nearly raped and saved by the Hound. There's a number, and Ramsay Bolton, he is a sick fuck. He likes his torture. He likes to get his torture on. he has castrated Theon Grey. He has done unspeakable acts. Joffrey torturing and killing the prostitutes.
Yeah.
So what I don't understand is that when you object to one act of violence versus others, that to me is a judgment call.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there is the sacrifice and subsequent murder of Shireen Baratheon by her own father. So is it, then you start saying, well, if you object to, so it's okay for Daenerys to get raped and it's okay for that prostitute to get tortured and raped, but not Sansa Stark. So anyway, so that was the big controversy, and frankly, I don't...
So do you think the controversy is because in the show she's supposed to be 16?
Yes.
Okay. I sort of get that, but I guess maybe because the show's been on for 5 years now, or 5 seasons, I don't see her as a 16-year-old. Not that it makes it any more right. I see it and I just sort of, I don't know. She comes across as like she's 20, 21. So from that point of view, while I don't condone the rape, I don't see it. If it was Arya Stark, then I can sort of understand it more being a bit more full on because she looks... Does that make any sense, or am I...
No. I think the thing is that you're right. Like, for example, to demonstrate what you're saying, the scene where Arya Stark goes into the brothel and changes her face as one of the young... They look around somewhere between 10 to 12 years old, those young girls that the... I can't remember his name, the man picks out to have sex
the
with.
Kingsguard,
Yes.
I don't know his name.
That to me is very confronting. But I think the thing is that I regard it as rather hypocritical for people to watch this show for 4 years and the catalogue of various acts that they show, varying degrees of debauchery and violence and immorality, and then to only now in season 5 go, oh, I'm not watching anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think that's... I can't get my head around that. But anyway, so let's talk about some other memorable moments in this season. Do you want to pick out the next moment? What was the memorable moment for you?
Memorable. I think you touched on one. Shireen Baratheon being burnt at the stake. So I sort of, obviously it was sort of preempted or was hinted at in, sort of the preceding episodes that you sort of thought, well, she's going to be important somehow, but Will should be the sacrificial lamb. I sort of thought she might be, and then obviously when they went through with it, I was,
Well, when they left the Night's Watch and Stavros, who she taught him how to read, and he was very protective of her, when he said, no, your wife and daughter need to stay at the Night's Watch, women are not there for war, and that was the first hint that he was very adamant that they come out. So that to me, because they mentioned that a few times, and I thought, okay, something's going on there.
Yeah.
But I was very disheartened I love Bryn of Tarth. I just want to say I have her little plastic doll, and my partner has the Hound, and we, have played out the role, and of course Bryn of Tarth always wins. When she we're assuming that she's killed Stannis Baratheon. I wanted Stavros to find out what's happened to the princess and come back and just rip Stannis to shreds. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Bit bloodthirsty.
So, I was going to say there's a lot that happened in the season, but there's obviously a lot of things unanswered that obviously we'll find out next season.
Yes.
What's the next moment?
Well, Cersei Lannister.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to go off on a bit of tangent with that one, but continue.
Okay, well go for it.
Well, there was one thing that I did see that came up on somewhere on Facebook or Twitter or something, and I don't know why or whether people were upset or not, but obviously Cersei or the actress,
Lena Headey, yep,
obviously had a stunt double.
Yes, body double. Yes,
body double for that part, and I don't disagree with that. That's her choice or whatever, but I felt like there were a couple of moments where, to me, it did look too obvious that it was a digital face on a body, and they probably could have done that a bit better or cut it down maybe. Like, we got the point of it, so
correct.
They could have maybe even shortened that scene a little bit. I know they wanted to drag it out and shame, and thought it was Darren Hinch following her for a while there. But look, I understand. There's a part of me goes, I understand why that was long, and they wanted to show how, you know, dramatic and how, you know, how torturous almost it was, that walk that she had to do, with the bloody feet, and obviously people throwing.
But why were her feet bloody? I didn't understand that. I mean, I'm sorry, bitch, please. Like, has she never walked on a stone path before? That's what I didn't understand. Why her feet would be bloody.
Well, no, but that's probably the case because she's come from so upper class. She's probably had her nice Nike cushioned shoes,
medieval Nike shoes.
But I just took it as that she's been up the top so long and never probably walked barefoot anywhere.
That's a fair point. Yeah,
and maybe wear that. What do they call it when they're down in that part of the King's
slumming
Landing?
it.
No, but
that area.
I've got a mental blank. But anyway, I'm taking that as that's pretty average.
Yes, there was a metaphor for how far she's fallen.
Yeah.
But do you also know that the actress was pregnant?
Oh, no,
I think because she had a baby rather recently.
Oh, okay.
So I suspect that she may have been pregnant around the time and didn't want to do it because obviously the character's not pregnant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's not confirmed. That's just my speculation because I know that she did have a baby.
Yeah. Oh, again, I've got no issue with body doubles. I just think if you're going to do that, make sure the effect looks Because I even watching it, there was a couple of times when you sort of just the cuts when you see her face, and then obviously there's another shot. You sort of go, hang on, well, that's not the same person. For me, that just looked a bit too obvious. Because
you didn't need to see her face and her boobs in the same shot.
No.
You could have just shown her from behind or obscured her face and shown the body double, front on or in a wig in the distance or whatever they do, or the tricks they do. I love the delicious karma that this character is getting. I love the fact that she's approached the Sparrow of her own volition to get rid of Queen Marjorie, thinking that she is going to be immune from any consequences, and then it is swiftly turned around against her, and I think that is fantastic. I don't want her to die because the show needs good villains. So when there was rumours before the final episode had aired that someone died, I was hoping it wasn't her.
But did you think she was going to die in that last episode?
I was wondering whether she was walking to her execution or just a walk of shame. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Now, question for you. So when she finally arrives at the palace, there's a new member of the King's Guard. Do you think that's an old character come back?
Maybe parts of an old character.
Who do you have any theories?
Nah, we probably should say we don't read the books. Is that?
Yeah, I haven't read them. I haven't read them yet.
We don't read the books. I don't talk. I know friends that read the books, but I don't talk about plot lines.
I've got the books. I haven't read them. I haven't had time.
I have no idea, but I took it as more of a Frankenstein type scenario because there was a scene with that same guy, and again, his name escapes me because he's only sort of new on the scene.
Yes.
But when they had the head of the midget that they thought was Tyrion,
right, yes,
he said, I'll keep that, that's for my studies. And he kept the head. And then later on there was another time when Cersei came down into his
lab or whatever, yes,
and were talking, and then she left, and then there was something under the table that fidgeted. And he said, rest my son, or something really quickly. And I just went, and because the figure was so big, I just took that as it's parts of, like you said, might be part of a returning character or something.
Because I'd forgotten about all that, and I wondered if it wasn't the Hound coming back.
I think the crows would have picked him to pieces by now.
But, yes, but very, very interesting. Yes, because in the final episode, when you see he's got a helmet and you see through the eye cutouts, that he's,
Very
all
white.
weird colours like grey and purple and weird kind of colours. So
I probably should say I did watch it all in one sort of sitting pretty much, whereas you didn't. So that was fresh in my mind from a previous episode. So that will be interesting, how he or she fits into the scheme of things. But even the fact that whoever it was, the new King's Guard, was carrying Cersei, I just think that just showed, I don't know, she's going to have a good amount of protection and be a force to be reckoned with next season.
Yes. What would you like to see happen with the House Lannister?
House Lannister. I don't know. It for me, it is a very love-hate relationship. I think there's parts of it I understand and I don't have an issue with, and there's parts I find that are slightly likeable, and then obviously there's, you had Joffrey and that, and even Cersei, like you said, has their points where I just find her repulsive. And like you said, it was good to get her karma. But yeah, I didn't want her to die either. I felt like she needed to live. I sort of wasn't too sure whether she'd get the chop.
Well, I like Tyrion Lannister. I like him. I like Jaime Lannister. And I was just going to say, I think that they hold the potential to turn things around. And I think Jaime generally does want to turn things around.
No, I have to admit, I'm a bit of a Jaime fan. I think I've come around. I think early on he was unlikable. It made him almost have that redemption, and he can see that his family is being pretty nasty.
But you know what changed him? Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah.
That's what changed him. I don't know if she fell in love with him, but he came to have an affection for her and admire her, and started to, losing his arm, his hand. I think all of those things kind of humbled him, even though he did rape his sister after their son was murdered. But we can overlook that. But I think the thing is that there's the potential there for him to redeem himself more fully than he has. I love Cersei as an evil character. A part of me was so enjoying her incarceration, but then what I didn't like is none of the familiar characters were there to bathe in the joyousness of her karma, like Peter Baelish or who's the one that has his little spies, the little birds, the eunuch.
Varys.
Yes, he wasn't there to enjoy it. Tyrion Lannister wasn't the midget. What's his name? Is it Tywin?
No, Tyrion.
Tyrion wasn't there to enjoy it. So it kind of was. It was a half. It was a half fall from grace for me. I would have liked, for her to really have all of them stand around and go, well, sucks to be you.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about Jon Snow? Because
first of all, how upset was I? And I'm sorry, but Sam left him. Basically handed them the sword. Samwell Tarly. I really don't like him now after he did that, after he abandoned him. And I think the thing is that I've always liked Jon Snow. I've liked how he made that hard decision to save.
A good bastard.
I do. No, I was still mourning Ygritte. I really, I was crushed that they killed her, because that could have been really special. But the fact that he went out on a limb and saved the wildlings, and I hope that there's retaliation from the wildlings once they find out. But the other thing is, there are whispers.
Oh, whispers.
There are whispers.
I'm reading what you've written, the questions you've got for me, and it's funny you asked it. When I read the email this morning, I actually thought, when you saw him dying and you saw the blood seeping into the snow, I actually thought the same thing. I thought, well, he's definitely dead. He's going to die. But then I'm thinking, maybe there's a scene or something that's happened that we haven't seen, and that he's going to be resurrected.
Well, this is a theory out on the internet, and one that I only because I live in hope and hope Jon Snow's not dead. I think the Red Witch Melisandre has a second of a conscience about Princess Shireen's death and sacrifice, and that it didn't work. It didn't appease the gods. And they didn't ride victorious into the north. And I wonder if she's come back to Night's Watch, found out that that's what's happened, and decided to save him and resurrect him. I would love for that to happen.
But isn't it funny when you say, talk about the whispers and the internet buzz, but surely you can just go to the books? Or are the books finished to this point?
My understanding is that they have deviated from the books, and my understanding too is that they're either finished or at the end of the books of what has been published. So I think he's in the process of writing the next book, but I think that they have, aside from that, they've deviated anyway. So I think that I like the idea, but I don't want it to be too far fetched. I don't want them to do it just because he's a good character and people like him. Like, if he's got to go, he's got to go.
Do you think she honestly stuffed up or misread the signs, or it was a little bit of a setup with Stannis and that? Do you think she would honestly? I don't know. I wasn't too sure about her motives, and towards the end, I felt like they purposely made her seem more... She's very mysterious as a character anyway, but I felt like they made it a bit more ambiguous, and you're like, well, is she 100% certain that's what's supposed to happen, or is she setting him up? Did she think Jon Snow is the real saviour? I don't know. I just felt like they...
But didn't they... I thought earlier on in the season that he started to have doubts about her. Because there's a scene at some point where I thought they had a conversation and he's doubting what she's saying.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think the thing is that because she genuinely looked shocked to me. It didn't look planned. She genuinely looked shocked that it didn't work. So to be honest, I'm at a loss. I don't know what's happening there, because when she... But
then she also had to play for Jon Snow.
She did, yeah, that's true.
Something, and he knocked her back, and she's like, "Oh, well, we don't have to tell him.
Yes,
we don't have to tell Stannis." So it was almost, let's do it on the sly. But she obviously saw something in him, and she said, "Oh,
that's true."
So
that's a good point.
I don't know. I know what you're saying. I think she did have that look of shock, but then I'm not too sure. She obviously had Plan B in place potentially.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
well, that's true. But it's I want Stavros to get her too. Stavros is going to go off his rocker once he finds out. All I hope he does.
Yeah.
The other thing that we were going to talk about is, what do you think of Khaleesi or Daenerys Targaryen?
Khaleesi. Oh, she's probably one of my favourites.
Okay.
Yeah, she had an interesting end to the season, being out in the middle of nowhere and circled by people that kind of looked a bit like cowboys.
I know.
Like Indians and I don't know what they were.
Medieval.
But, they didn't look too threatening, but she's obviously in a vulnerable position from that point of view. But I'm again not too sure where that leaves her.
But prior to the end of that, this season, what's happened with her and her reign, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, she's struggling. I think the different classes and her trying to do the right thing, or what she thinks the right thing by the people, and releasing the slaves hasn't really worked.
I think she's lost her way. I'll really be honest. Since she got rid of... And again, forgive me, I've forgotten his name. Jorah. Jorah Marmont, who is the commander's son. Since she cast him out, I feel like that she feels like she knows better or knows more than she actually does. And I feel that as you said, the freeing the slaves, it wasn't that fairy tale ending as it has been in previous cities, and that it's far more complex, and she doesn't know how to address that or handle that. And I feel that she's more, she's got the young, hunky soldier lover now, and she's just living it up. And I feel that she has lost her way a little bit. Like, her motives are not as... I feel it's a combination that her motives are not as pure. I think she's become a little bit complacent and a little bit, dare I say, arrogant. And I think that she's also a little bit naive. She's in over her head. She doesn't have the experience to handle the situation, such as it is. Because when the old hand of the king, again, the names, the characters, so many characters in this show. Remember when he died? That was really heartbreaking, and that didn't have to happen. You remember when the guys with the golden masks cornered them?
Yeah.
And they stabbed the number one soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that...
Barristan.
Yes. I think that was actually really sad and unnecessary, and I just don't... I think she's lost it. I used to like her, but this season I'm fallen out of love with her. I feel that she's lost her way, and I did like the scene when Tyrion Lannister, she said, "Why should I bother with you?" And I liked that exchange. Yeah. And I like his honesty with her and saying, "I don't think that you have enough experience. I think you could, but you don't." Yeah. So I liked that.
Yeah,
so there's hope there.
I did like that partnership, but actually, I guess while we're on her, Jorah and getting touched by this.
Yes, the Stone Man.
Yeah, well, what do you reckon there? What's going to happen?
Well, interestingly, the legend is that you turn to stone within 24 to 48 hours, which hasn't happened. So I think him being affected by the touch of the Stone Man might reveal something else. I don't know, but I really hope he doesn't become a Stone Man, because I do like him. Even though he betrayed her, he did so out of a misguided... He did what he had to do so that he could serve both masters and keep doing his job to help her.
Yep.
I feel that his motives are pure. What do you think?
Yeah, I do, but I think he definitely is clouded by the fact that he's in love with her.
Yes.
But that's the funny thing. If he's in love with her, I don't think he's ever meant to be, deceptive towards her. So it's in the best interest of her, but obviously probably could have done it in a better way or been a bit more upfront, but we all make mistakes. Yeah. But he's obviously proved, his loyalty, and risking his life by fighting in the fighting pit. So yeah, I think he's still got a bit to go storyline wise.
I just remembered a point I wanted to make earlier. So did you have anything else to say about Khaleesi?
No.
I've just remembered something that I wanted to...
You're going to talk about Arya Stark?
Yeah, but I will come back to her.
Yep.
I wanted to go back to the... Lannisters and talk about Tommen.
Oh, okay.
Why hasn't Tommen stepped up?
Because he's only a kid. He's like 13, 14.
Yeah, but the thing is, why... and I appreciate, when...
Look, I looked at it... I know what you're saying. I think he's definitely had his issues, but he's still a boy. He's lost his grandfather that was his right-hand man.
That's true, yes.
Who would have given him a lot of advice. And then if Tyrion hadn't have fallen in favour with the family, he probably would have been a bit of a spokesperson for him as well. He would have had plenty of help around him. And the fact that Jaime's away as well means there's extra pressure. So I don't think he's got the right people around him.
That's true. And he's not as cutthroat as Joffrey.
No.
He's a little bit more sensitive, and you know,
I think he's a thinker as well. I think.
Yes, that's a good point. Because when Marjorie was first thrown into jail, or captured, he took his soldiers to rescue her, and you know it was basically it's going to be a bloodbath, and he was not prepared for that. He didn't want that. So I think the thing is that they haven't really shown him other than that first brief attempt to free Marjorie, and you know, and he's wanted to see his mother. He's come to visit her, but he hasn't done anything else. Yeah. And it's like, come on, sunshine. I mean, you got to step up to the plate. You're king.
Yeah, you think he would have learned a bit of stuff from Joffrey?
Yeah.
Even though Joffrey was a prick and was a torturous fuck as well.
Yes.
I think he still had that authority to call the shots.
But he's grown up in a palace. He's grown up in a royal family. He's seen his father. He's seen his mother. He's seen, you know, he would have inherited some knowledge and understanding. But yes, I do agree. He is young, and these are not easy decisions to make.
What are your thoughts on actually one of the death scenes I was a bit sad about, because she's not a big character, or she hadn't been a big character so far, and I thought she was going to have some sort of storyline. Not that we saw her die, like dead, but I'm assuming she's dead, is Myrcella Lannister.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And that kiss on the lips, and as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh,
what a cow she was.
And that's what I think. I'm like, how's that dynamic going to work? Because is she going to get found out, or is Jamie going to go? Well, not too sure how she was murdered or what have you, but the fact that the other, again, his name escapes me, but the other Dorm.
Her
he was
fiance.
like, no, leave her alone. Blah blah blah. She's got to live, and blah, blah. But even the son, he's going to marry. I don't know. I just thought, okay, you want revenge, but I just don't know if that was the best way to do it. Or what I do like is, and this is where we're talking back, even though it's fantasy, it's a fantasy world, a fantasy time and place. There is enough realism to mirror actual European society, culture, law, and things that happened. And I think that's what lends it its realism, and it's unapologetic. This is what they did. Yeah.
You transplant this fictitious world and show, and you take it to actual historical events in a medieval era in Europe, and I think that's what they did. That's how it was.
I like it, and I think that's why people like it, is because it is. I think sometimes you can look at some scenes, and you know, whether it's Joffrey beheading Ned Stark or other things like that, you go, okay, that's fictionalised and they're made up characters, but that happened to the King of France in the 1600s or whenever it was, or this. Well, there's so many things you go, well, that's just a fictionalisation of something that actually really happened. So
it's interesting, because in certain cultures, hundreds of years ago, incest was accepted. Incest was not regarded as taboo, but I know that in order to be accessible to a universal, worldwide audience, they had to make incest taboo. They depicted it, but made it this clandestine kind of secret. And I think they had to do that because I think that there's just like an American market would not have accepted that.
But in Texas, they're a bit like that, aren't they?
I was going to say Tasmania.
Well, I was thinking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But I think that's interesting, is that they have to, rape's okay, murder's okay, torture's okay, boobs out okay, homosexuality's okay, but we're going to draw the line at incest.
I felt like there was a lot of homosexuality in this season as well.
But male homosexuality.
Yes. That's right.
But what I'm saying is there wasn't any lesbianism. There wasn't any. I think there's some bisexuality because in last season with Watermelon Head. What's his name? I will be your champion. Bye-bye. He, I feel, was very free-loving and willing to love people as opposed to... but it's interesting, isn't it, as I said before, the choices that are made. Let's talk about Arya Stark. Arya? I can't pronounce their names. Arya. Stark girlfriend, yo.
Yeah. It's a funny one because I see when I read it, I say Arya, but I think they say Arya.
Anyway, the younger Stark girl.
She's my favourite character, by the way. I should say.
Ooh, why is she your favourite character?
I don't know. I just right from day one, I think she wasn't taken seriously. She was a girl. She couldn't practice with the boys when they were shooting their arrows and playing their swords.
And yet she showed them up.
Well, she showed them up, but she decided to push on and learn, and she wanted to fight. And then obviously seeing her dad beheaded and all that, and just having that resolve and resilience to keep fighting on. And it feels like she's the one that's travelled and been all over the place.
Yes. From
place to place and sort of having to slum it and fight her way through different situations. But I think, for me, I always thought, and again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know, but I just always felt like she was going to be the one that would probably come out at the top once the season or the series was going to come to an end. She'd be almost like the last man standing kind of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, as episode 5, the last episode of season 5 showed us that maybe not so good.
So do you think that she's dead?
Dead? I'm not too sure. Definitely blind. I don't know. Again, it is... It's what the realism. You see someone beheaded or stabbed and whatever, or burnt at the stake, they're dead, but then there's some supernatural element, so it's very hard to know until they've actually put him into the ground or buried and you see them have a funeral scene that you really know whether they're dead. She was definitely alive and breathing, just blind at the end.
Or in a state, she looked like those other people that they bathe and wash.
Exactly.
But I wonder if, because they have invested time in her, I wonder if it is one strike and you're out, or whether they will perhaps punish her, or, as you said, because of the supernatural elements, maybe she will undergo a transformation of some kind. I really do hope that she is, alive and able to be herself. Like, I hope she just doesn't become a face, one of the many faces of the gods, and that someone else can borrow. I really wouldn't like that. But it is interesting, and I agree. I do. She has very much held her own, travelling with the Hound, and even though historically, you don't often see female characters that are girls that have gone through what she's gone through travel with an older man that protects her, and her not develop an affection for him. So she's travelled with him and then still gone, no, fuck you, bye-bye, not lights out. Yeah. And I've got to really admire that, because you don't see that very often, that kind of female character. So I do. So you're going to go on the record as saying she's your favourite character?
Probably.
So who do you love to hate then?
Oh, well, Tyrion's up there too. I like Tyrion.
Yeah, Tyrion.
But I probably would say Arya. Because I think there's something... again, look, everybody's different, but I feel like when you first get into Game of Thrones, the likeable family, or the family everyone wants to be, is the Starks. And the fact that they've sort of all been sort of slightly picked off, you want one of them to sort of...
I'm still not over the Red Wedding. I'm still not over that.
Yeah, that was huge.
I mean...
I remember seeing that and just thinking, oh my God, like, I can imagine... I sort of felt like it was going to be a setup, but just the level of, obviously, the 3 that got killed. And
yeah, because I loved Robb Stark. I really liked him.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I guess that's why it's dramatic, even though he's a bastard child like Jon Snow dying. So, I mean, you don't have a lot. Actually, this is the point where I can't believe we haven't even brought that up, and we're getting almost to 45 minutes.
that's right.
The younger brothers we're not seen.
No, that's right.
At all this season, and I was sort of taken aback by that. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because Brannon finally found the three-eyed crow.
Yeah.
And we don't know the impact of that. And I would love for season 6 to open with that. And interweave and tie it all back in. I think the thing is that I guess like many other fans, I'm not satisfied with 10 episodes a season. It's not enough.
Yeah.
I know they spend a lot of time and money, and they want to produce a high quality product, and I'm very grateful for that. But can you just squeeze a couple more episodes out while you do it? Even if you just an extra 2, I'm not fussy.
I find it sometimes. I know they have to package each episode a certain way to show some things and then give you wanting more for the next episode. But I always find it unusual, and maybe this is coming from the old school TV. If you're going to make an hour show, you have to write a 42-minute script.
Yes.
Or a 21-minute script for a half an hour program. With obviously a lot of HBO shows, whether it's Sopranos, this or something else, there's never a definitive time. Like some episodes will go for 50 minutes. The next one will go for an hour. But
television's changed. The way that we consume television's changed.
No. I'm not arguing with that.
I
mean, sometimes you think if you can do an episode for an hour, why can't the episode that you showed before that went up for 48 minutes? Surely there's something else you could have given us. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes,
you're saying about the 10 episodes, but I'm thinking as the whole package in the 10 episodes, why can't they give us that bit more? Let's make them an hour, or let's make them 55 minutes. So you're getting, I don't know.
It's interesting because it's almost cinema for small screen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the lack of interruption with commercials in the text means that they can interweave these complex storylines and multiple subgroups of characters, which is exactly what they do, and allow the creative vision to dictate rather than we have to confine it to 40 minutes. Oh, we're just about to reach the climax. We have to compromise on that.
Yeah.
So let's cut this. They don't do that, which and I'm assuming they don't do it because the quality is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for that. And I don't mind that sort of leeway, provided that they stick to that this is the quality that we want to aspire to. The best example of that I've seen is the television series Fringe. The creator said, this show's going to go for 5 seasons. And it did. And it was wildly popular. Fans were begging, please don't end it, don't end it, don't end it. And they're like, there's no other story to tell. It's over. And I admire that. It breaks my heart because I love that show and I wanted more, but I do admire that. I think the thing is that with the young boys, it's interesting. I do, they kind of haven't been central to the plot, and I want them to become more central. It's almost like they're lulling us into a false sense of security. There's only 2 Starks left.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the younger boys. And then Shazam, they'll come back in. It'd be great if he comes back in as like a powerful magician or something.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting too, because I think there's a couple of things about it. Because first, we didn't see them at all in this season. Yes. Unless I missed something.
No, didn't.
But they were mentioned. So Sansa got told by Theon that they were still alive.
That's
right. She didn't know that. Like, they were assumed, and everyone was like, you've killed my brothers. He's like, no, I didn't kill them.
Yes.
So now all of a sudden she's got this revelation. Oh my God, my brothers are out there somewhere. I think from a production point of view, though, the issue might be that these brothers have aged too much, the actors, in the time. I don't know, I haven't read that, but I'm just wondering how they're going to approach it. Because I know they had that problem with Lost, where the young boy, Walt, obviously was growing up at a normal human rate.
Yes.
But the TV show was set in a certain
time frame,
a certain amount of days. So all of a sudden they got to season 2 and towards the end, and he was starting to go through his growth spurt and into puberty, and all of a sudden he was looking too old. So they had to write him out of the series, and then I think they did have him, but it was shown in a long shot, and they never really showed him ever too much again because he just grew up too quickly. And I just wonder with Bran and Rick on whether the actors have started to go through that as well, and how they'll portray that.
Talking about Sansa, we need to start wrapping up, but Sansa and Theon, are they going to be in medieval wheelchairs? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, geez, I talk about leap of faith.
Well, literally and figuratively.
I don't know. I was expecting them to get there and go, oh, there's like one of those, when you see the movie like a medieval, like there's the big cart with the hay bale on top they can just jump into. Like, I think they're probably just going, you know what, we've got to risk it. If we're going to live and we're going to get through this, jump. If we die, we die kind of thing. But it looked like a fair drop, even with... You'd want to hope that snow was pretty soft. Though.
Lots of it.
I just don't know. Snow's pretty hard when it's...
Well, it depends on how long it's been there and the fall and how, all that other... the pragmatic things. I want Sansa to live. I really want Sansa to live. I want her to be the strong monarch, not monarch, but matriarch of the Stark family. I want her to bring back the Stark name, have babies, and just take over shit and kill people, like go nuts. I really want her to come back, like a mob boss. Ara, I want her to come back. So getting back to, because we've digressed and we're running out of time, who is your favourite character you love to hate?
That I love to hate?
Yes.
That's a... we'll go with yours.
Okay, my favourite character I love... it's really hard for me because I love all of them. I love Sansa because I want her to really succeed. Jon Snow I loved, but I always knew he was a target because he had too many enemies from day one. But Sansa the Stark is my favourite, so I hope she survives. And the character I love to hate is Cersei. I just think she's such a good villain, and she's just so manipulative and conniving. And the scenes with Marjorie, and then the scenes with Marjorie's grandmother, they were just juicy and delicious. So, favourite, Sansa. One I love to hate is Cersei.
Yeah, I'd probably...
And then second, Joffrey.
Yeah, Joffrey was probably the worst, I think.
He was great. So.
Oh, a great villain, but he was just... He's one of those people like you would literally punch in the face if you saw him in the street. And I think he probably hated it in the end. I think he got a lot of hate mail and got smashed on social media.
But that's a testament to his acting ability. That you can evoke such a visceral response from your audience. That's a testament to his acting. Yeah,
I sort of more. Yeah, Cersei's another one love to hate. I think she has her moments, but yeah, she's a villain. I'm more so the smaller characters that have stitched other people up, and I think haven't been fair. Well, what's fair,
Yeah.
Like Walder Frey. Who was the other one? Like Roose Bolton, those guys. Any of those houses that have sort of stitched up the Starks, or jumped ship. I just don't have any sympathy for them.
Ramsay Bolton is also another revolting character I love to hate.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I despair with him because he seems to just be protected. Nothing ever seems to go wrong for him. Whereas with Cersei, as we've seen now, her fall from grace, she's not immune to being attacked or being picked on or whatever. So, final predictions for season 6. Do you have some predictions, or even if they're not predictions, things you want to happen in season 6?
I have no predictions.
Oh.
What I will say is that I think Tyrion Lannister will go from strength to strength.
Yes.
I think Sansa and Theon will survive their jump.
Yes.
And I think Theon will have a kind of redemption storyline happening and might actually reconcile with Sansa a bit, or at least protect her to a point, or as much as needed. And I think we'll definitely see the boys back next season, and they probably would have a greater role in the season, I would have thought.
Do you know who I've missed this season? Is Peter Baelish.
Yeah, he wasn't in it.
He's a great character.
Well, Varys wasn't in it a hell of a lot.
No,
either.
I like him too. I really like those two. And when they were in court together in season 4, and they're both up to their own tricks, and the manipulation, the behind the scenes and underhand dealings is so interesting and fascinating for me. And I've missed that this season. My predictions, I agree with yours, and I'll also add my prediction is Jon Snow is not dead. He's going to be resurrected by the Red Witch, and that Jaime Lannister will come back and get rid of the Sparrow and redeem himself and fight for Cersei. And Arya Stark is alive.
Okay. Do you think the daughter's dead as well? Jaime's daughter?
Marcella, I reckon she is. Who cares about her? What, really? Bitch, please. She's been...
It's a bit unfair.
No, well, where's she been? She's been off lolling it around with her toy boy lover. Hasn't really missed home.
But do you think they will start some sort of war with that family?
I don't think the Lannisters are in a position to... there's no one there. The king's a man-child who can't even save his own wife, let alone start a war with another...
Yeah.
wasn't someone who was in their alliance. I don't think the Lannisters are in a very strong position at the moment, and I hope Khaleesi gets over herself, comes out of the sticky situation she's in and claims the Iron Throne.
I think, I know we've got to quickly wrap up, but I do want to go back to just before she did die, if we think she's dead. I actually did like the moment with her and Jaime that she sort of said, I kind of realised you were my dad, or always felt like I knew. And even though, like we're talking about incest, I still think that was a very touching and really important moment and conversation, like you were saying, that I think he's starting to come around to like, well, I feel ashamed and I should be ashamed, and it's not the way things are done, but I love my sister. What's going to happen there, I'm not too sure, but can you imagine being the father of your children and not being allowed to be the father of your children and having to live a lie? I think he's starting to have that, not closure, but being able to express himself.
I also think, though, it suited his needs to take on and exaggerate this playboy persona of being, cavalier and not really caring, and being really slick and having no honour, and, killing the Mad King. And he's enjoyed that rogue kind of Lannister persona. Yeah, Kingslayer persona. And I think the thing is that spending time with Bryn of Tarth, he's come to realise that's actually not who he really is. He does have honour. He does have loyalty. He does want to be close to people that he loves openly, as you were saying. And I think that all, that's been building and bubbling away under the surface. And I think being charged with the duty of rescuing Marcella, that kind of all came up, and he realised all of that. Well, whatever happens, we will be watching. I'm sure you will be watching. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We've really enjoyed, as you can tell, talking about Game of Thrones. So it's bye from Critic, Clare.
And bye from Fan Geek. And I will apologise if we didn't pronounce all the names correctly, or we talked about this guy and that girl without saying their names.
Yes, but I'm sure as die-hard fans, you know exactly who we mean. Okay, until next time, bye.